I am Saturated Fat Man. The Meat of the Matter podcast is live on Sundays. These boys are doing their part, so please like, subscribe, and share this message, and help those people that need to hear it. And I'm bringing the awareness, exposing the processed food gang, the seed oil crew, Harvey Kellogg, to the world.
When the world felt numb and colors faded, I found a spark, a taste that woke me.
I was lost in a haze of endless routine, feeling tired, muted, lost in between, chasing promises in every trend, but something crucial was missing, my friend. Then I discovered a flavor so real, steak on the grill but a soft appeal. It wasn't about saving, it was the thrill of getting alive, of feeling the chill and warmth in every bite, a sensory reveal.
Me made me feel, yes, it brought me alive. Color returned to my soul and my stride. From dull to divine, every cell did ignite. A taste of pure power, pure health in each bite. Me made me feel like I was born anew. With every morsel, my energy grew.
Now every meal's a revelation, a burst of light, recharging my body, setting my mind right. No more gray days or endless fatigue, just pure nourishment that makes my heart beat. Amino acids flowing like river meat beats, fast and smooth the edges, making life sweet. From muscle to marrow, the healing is real. I taste confidence, I taste how I feel, alive, vibrant, and unapologetically me.
When you feed your body
There's something inside that bacon. I hope there's something inside that
It's not
bacon,
just
because if there's not, and
It's the music of life. Every bite is a note and a Christmas. Me made me feel awakened from the dawn. Every bite a burst of life, deep and full. I'm no longer waiting, no longer concealed. With meat on my plate, my true self is revealed. Me made me feel like the world's renewed. Every cell dancing to the taste of truth. Taste the truth, feel the life. Meat made me feel, and now I know what it means to truly be.
I'm tired of seeing all the carnivore shit all over these fucking apps. No one cares if you only eat meat. Every single one of you have to identify by carnivore, fucking Connie, carnivore Ken, whatever the fuck your name is, and you add carnivore to the end of it on your fucking bio is fucking weird. Weird. You're literally treating your diet like a fucking religion. A religion. A meat religion. Okay? Like, what in the absolute meat fuck is this shit? Your fucking boards with your eggs and your cheese and your fucking butter and your dates. Who cares? You can't shit. Your fiber intake is fucking zero, and you think you're just fucking trudging through life getting all healthy. Get the fuck out of here. No one cares. Your meat fucking ass, your meat farts, your meat sweats. No one wants to fucking hear
And it is Sunday. Welcome into the Meat of the Matter podcast, where we meet, you matter. Thanks for everybody joining us each and every Sunday. We do appreciate the live comments, the questions, and all the stuff. And that is Mark. He is Peter. I am Tony. And yes, welcome into the Saturday. How are we doing, boy? Or Sunday. How are we doing, boys?
Very well, sir. How are you?
That's good. Well,
I'm good. Yeah. Peter was you see, we got that little the slideshow at the beginning, Peter. So a couple minutes late means you're just on time.
yeah,
Good.
perfect.
Yeah. So how's the sorry, Mark, go on.
I was just going to say I love the new video you put up, the barbecue one. Very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we all might have wanted to be that guy at one time or other, right?
Just get rid of them.
I think I made a mistake one time. The only time I've ever tried one of those alternative sausages that were vegetarian or plant-based, whatever, and it was by accident. It was on the barbecue, and I was like, "Oh, I'll have a bite of this." And what the heck was that? It was like, yeah, my mouth was violated.
Disgusting.
Well, boys, so this week I think we got into it a little bit last week, but I think Mark found this this lady keeps popping up all over the Irish news. So why don't we talk about her? Because that's kind of what we do. So I think the volume might be a little off, but I think we'll get the idea, and then we'll just kind of go with it from there. We appreciate the comments, guys, in the chats, and get engaged, and let's get into it. I'm going to put this on. Hopefully it's the beginning, and then, we'll just get right into it.
So it's about how much it is in. We are not protein deficient here in this country. We are fiber deficient. Up to 80% of us do not get enough fiber. So what is fiber?
So right away, just saying, she said, I don't know if everybody could hear it, but she said, we're not protein deficient, we're fiber deficient. So
Yeah.
that right there, we know where this is heading. And if you can just see all the goodies on the table, where all that real food down there is going to be, I'm sure, highlighted.
And can I just say as well?
Yeah.
That this lady, Orla Walsh is her name. She's
Yeah.
one of the top nutritionists in the country.
Okay. All right.
That's her name, Orla Walsh.
Okay.
so she must be right.
She must say. Yes.
All right. Let's see what Orla has to say.
Fiber is found in plants, and we don't eat enough plants in Ireland. We don't eat enough fruit and veg and whole grains. And as a result, like you said, 4 in 5 people aren't consuming enough fiber. And we
4
need
in 5
enough
people.
fiber just for our gut to function as it should. And when people don't eat enough
All right. Well, Mark, she's
So
talking
she
about.
said, yeah. So she's basically saying that we need more fiber for our guts to function.
Yeah.
She couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, apologies, like I said, about the volume, but I mean, we kind of probably all realize where this is going.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened there. What's
Oh,
going
sorry for that.
on? Oh,
That's for later.
okay. Let's get it back on, and we'll see what she says
So
here.
their bowel can be a little bit sluggish, but also their gut microbiome isn't being fed. And over the long term, we know that when we don't eat enough fiber, it increases our risk of disease and death from disease as well. How do you know you're not? 4 in 5 people are fiber deficient. It's probably safe to assume that you are.
All right, all these assumptions. So first
Yeah.
of all, we're gonna say hi to some peeps here, and just mentioning Carnivore Beats, Byron Funk doing the music. That was a nice little entrance track there. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Fleur. Thanks for joining us. And she is full of shit. That is right, Lisa. Yes. So she said something about the microbiome.
She also says that the lack of fiber is the reason why all these diseases are happening also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I have some major troubles with those ideas, and people always refer to studies that are performed on populations on standard diets. So, what are the confounders? If you introduce fiber, you'll reduce glucose spikes. You'll increase the production of short-chain fatty acids, which on itself is good. You automatically eat less processed foods, so more whole foods, which is good on itself. But all these benefits can be achieved also in other ways, and that troubles me the most when people change the idea of benefit into something being essential for optimal health.
It just amazes me that every single one of them say the exact same thing, that the reason why most people are struggling is because they're not eating enough fiber. Every single one of them will say the exact same thing. If you eat more fiber, you won't have any issues whatsoever.
The satiety factor, I forgot to mention that, but that's also just, I mean, it's there, but can be achieved again in other ways. And
absolutely,
that's the dogmatic aspect of this whole fiber community.
But wait until you see what she recommends at the very, very end. So she doesn't even talk about vegetables. She talks about bleeding cereals. You'll see it now in a few minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man.
And I mean, that's the one thing that I have a serious problem with right off the bat. She says we're not protein deficient, we're fiber deficient. And I would say one of those things is very essential for us. One of those things is not. So how can you be, when everybody's getting sick and, all the diseases, the non-communicable diseases, all the problems, all the stuff is going up. And, you're telling us we need more of the stuff we don't need, which is, just ridiculous.
Yeah, and maybe just to nuance it a little bit, so also playing at devil's advocate a little bit, you could say that if you are on a standard diet and a diet rich in carbohydrates, that in a way you are deficient in fiber. But then you are not deficient in the content of the fiber, but you're deficient in the functional aspect of the fiber.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's kind of like that chicken and egg chasing, right? But the protein is the outcast that should be the focal point, right? It's kind of interesting.
100%.
All right. Well, let's continue. We'll see how this goes. See how this goes today.
And I would just encourage people to go, okay, well, what can I do about it? And making sure that you eat enough fruit and veg. And, that seems like a typical dietitian message that we're always saying, but we know that a lot of people aren't. So it's about consuming 1 to 2 portions at least per meal, like at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So,
So six servings of fruit and veg a day, more fiber.
And she's absolutely convinced that most people are not doing it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now I know a lot of people that have come to me and told me that they've done the high fiber diets. They're eating a shitload of vegetables every single day, and they couldn't stick to it. So there's the research for you there. So to say people, are we gonna call these people liars?
Right. Well,
so for her to turn around and say that there's people out there that are not doing it, it's just very, very foolish. I mean, I would love to see the studies. I would love to see the research. I would love to see the evidence on all of this.
Oh yeah.
This is just basically, she's only guessing this. She has no evidence whatsoever to back this up.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, right? Like, just, it's funny. We always talk in these scientific ways, and it's like what Byron just mentioned there. Putting more shit in a small hole and expecting it to work better. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, from all of it. Well, you need it. Yeah. Well, do you? Anyway, it's just.
And do you know what the thing is? This program, once every 3 weeks, they always get a dietitian on. It's either a dietitian, a doctor, or a nutritionist. I have reached out to this TV channel now in the last year, this year alone, I must have reached out to them at least 10 times. At least 10 times. I tagged them in every single one of my videos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you guys need to invite me on. Okay, we're listening to the same bullshit all the time. When are we going to start listening to a different voice? And they haven't reached out to me once. Not once.
Well, Mark, you don't have the corporate machine behind you, buddy.
I know.
But we're trying.
But the thing is, though, they're watching my videos because it comes up on my views. I can see it. Ireland AM. They are watching.
Really? Interesting. Yes. Well, that's good. As well they should. And I think they probably there's quite a few people that would be they don't want to get uncomfortable, right? And once you start talking about a bit of controversy, they've just got all their corporate all their ideologies to fall back on, and it's like, well, I have all this proof, the call to authority and let the games begin. It all gets backlashed on the same bullshit that they've started with.
It will happen sooner rather than later. One of these channels will reach out to me, and I cannot wait.
Yeah,
trust me, I cannot wait. I'll keep pushing until they do.
Yeah. No doubt. And Lisa's like, why can't they have a smart person on there who owns that TV station? Yeah, no doubt, right? Like that's it. Who owns the TV station? No kidding. All right. Well,
let's pay attention whether they tell anything about the why you should do
Yeah.
things, because they are very good at repeating the same stuff. And basically, if I see a newspaper article on nutrition nowadays,
Mhm.
I can just fill in the blanks, everything.
Oh yeah.
It will talk about fiber, low cholesterol, calorie restriction,
And
and
then
that's about it, right?
and then
What
and
else?
then Peter, if that doesn't get you, the climate will.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just it's just
And
not.
animal welfare, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they'll tug at the heartstrings.
But yeah, a nutritionist at the very least should be telling a little bit about the why behind things. And yeah, that's just amazing.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, we'll continue.
Break this down for me. How much fiber are we meant to be taking in for an average person, right? Every single day.
So generally about 25 to 35 grams.
Okay. Like where? Okay. I knew that she's gonna say somewhere around 30 grams. Where did that come from? Where does that number? How did that number get there? Where did it come from? What happens if you only get 24 grams of fiber? What happens if you get 31 grams of fiber? How much is too much? What's with this 30 grams? What's it doing? And when we don't really even know, the conversion and the microbiome always changes. So if your microbiome can change in 24 hours, maybe 30 grams is too much for one day. Maybe it's not enough. At least it doesn't make sense. So
yeah, and what happens to my son if I give him 30 grams of fiber? Or what happens to my cat? Well, I don't have a cat, but if I give my cat 30 grams of fiber, or my grandmother, probably they should eat some less.
And they also like, soluble, insoluble, and soluble fiber. Basically, one absorbs water, one doesn't. And I mean, one, you could argue one acts like the net, the web, and then the other acts like the gum. But if you're just eating fiber in one term, it's so stupid and it's so vague. Like 30 grams of, okay, try 30 grams of psyllium fiber, man. You're going to go without water. You're in trouble. Like that's going to suck up water. Like,
I did this once in the past. Well, with the idea of cleaning my gut.
Yeah.
I drank water with a lot of psyllium. I don't remember the amount, but it was really horrifying at some point because indeed it increases in volume.
Yes.
And of course, I diluted it already because I was aware of that it would be doing that thing. But still, it was very scary because it still blows up in your guts, and at some point you start fearing that it becomes too much, and it can become too much with psyllium, in fact. But I mean, if you do it carefully, like I did, it's sort of safe. But it was not a pleasant experience. And probably it did clean up my gut a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's because it took everything with it, buddy.
Yeah.
All the good and the bad. It just gets swept up, man. Because it waterlogs quite severely. Like, I mean, I remember thinking,
and we probably all did crazy stuff like that. Eh? I mean, crazy stuff. I mean, this is quite crazy, but a lot of stuff that you would do on a standard diet or plant-based diet if you don't know about the plant toxins and all those things. Detoxing your body with liver detoxing with vegetable smoothies or whatever.
Well, that's the same thing, and that's a good point, Lisa. Why do we need it if we don't digest exactly? It's like that's the funny thing about this stuff too. Like when I was kind of learning about just being told about health, and I was being taught about fiber, and like I almost opened up a supplement company about fiber. Like it was almost there. It was almost launched, and I backed out at the last second because of my partner was a little bit off the dial. But I think it was divine intervention. But I was convinced this is super good for you. And the funny thing is now I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. I used to do detoxes. Once you understand that the liver and the kidneys are actually detoxifiers, they detoxify you. You want to protect them. Don't tax them. Don't put burdens on them. You don't have
Yeah.
to detox like, with all these herbs and stuff. I mean, are they good? Are they bad? Who knows? But that's what the liver's job is, to detox. So, if you don't want your liver to be like ultimately polluted, don't pollute it. It's
Mhm.
one of those things, So it's kind of interesting how they spin this stuff. So let's continue, and we'll see if we can get through this one. We started. I think last week was one sentence. This is good. So we're winning here, boys. We're winning.
And we're consuming about 18. So we're falling short by about 7 grams at least.
Okay. So what's fiber? Is this fiber here?
Yeah, so fiber is the bulk of the fiber that we will eat will come from whole grains wheat. So when people eat a lot of processed food and refined carbohydrates, the white carbohydrates rather than the brown ones, they'll consume less fiber. So for example, with pasta, if you were to make the switch from white to brown, you're doubling your fiber intake in that meal. And when it comes to
You're doubling your fiber, but keeping the sugar load the same. Anyway.
Wait until you hear what she says next. Now, pay when you hear what she says next.
Okay.
Well, it's important also that a lot of people don't realize it. And I placed a comment on Jacob Food's video 2 days ago. It was about fiber. And I actually got a lot of likes. It was very unusual. So I only got like 14 likes. That was really odd because there was little interaction in the rest of the video. But my comment explained the fact that, you can eat a big bunch of glucose and simple sugars and then add in the fiber, but it won't help because fiber only has this functional aspect of reducing glucose spikes if it contains, with respect to the glucose that is contained in the fiber matrix. And a lot of people just think like, just add in fiber, doesn't matter which type of fiber, soluble, insoluble. It's just the fiber amount and as much as possible, and then you get the benefit. And that's way too simplistic.
I think it's all a trick, man. I think it's all a big marketing thing and all the bullshit that they're trying to get us.
I mean, maybe the soluble fiber, you could argue that there is some benefit. It's not necessary. Some benefit in short chain fatty acid production and the gut microbiome. I mean, also, who is it? Sean O'Mara, for example, he eats a little bit of fermented vegetables once in a while.
Yeah.
I also do it like once in a month on average, a bit of sauerkraut, and those things, they are probably good for your gut microbiome. Are they necessary? Probably not.
It's the same as like say lettuce. Lettuce is probably the easiest thing that you can digest of all the vegetables. Water, I mean, anything that's pretty much made of water, it's gonna it's gonna be very, very easy to digest. So lettuce is a very good one as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like the opposite of fiber, I mean, it's very meh. I mean, if there was a benign vegetable that would be lettuce, you'd think it would be just water and, some stuff that sort of slides through. I mean, I would say the same thing. And Lisa has, so why is it that humans think that the plants are for us anyway? Maybe plants are for the animal kingdom that actually digest them with no issues. I would have to strongly agree with that. And I think this is all a big scam. I think they're pushing, these foods on us. And it's just, you just look at the food pyramid, right? Every single thing that we don't need, they push on us. And every single thing that we actually need, they tell us to eat less of. And I mean, when you're looking at it from that simplistic of a way, that's all it is. It just does not make sense at all. And I mean, as far as us carnivores go, we've gone to the extreme way of cutting out all the stuff that is irrelevant, but it's all the stuff we need. And that's, that 30%, the obligate hypercarnivore, that 30%, the hunter gatherer, whatever, is irrelevant. It's not the stuff that we should be consuming more of. And look at these packages, right? Because that's natural. Yeah,
the infamous Weetabix.
Yeah. Those things swell up too when you put the milk on there. Like they get nice and fluffy. Wait for the Weetabix to chill out, right? So okay, so Mark, you're saying there's an important thing coming up.
Listen to this next part now, very carefully.
Here, I'll put it back a bit just to make sure.
Rather than the brown ones, they'll consume less fiber. So, for example, with pasta, if you were to make the switch from white to brown, you're doubling your fiber intake in that meal. And when it comes to processed food, I didn't want to vilify it either, and I wanted to show options that are
That one right there.
processed, but they're still high in fiber and good health.
She didn't want to vilify.
So she didn't want to vilify high processed food. I mean, the hypocrisy in that comment alone is just unbelievable.
No
Like, it's
kidding.
honestly, as I said, this is one of the top nutritionists in the country.
Yeah.
It's just, honestly, it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, right there, like this is you're just, and that was just slid in there. It wasn't
Yeah.
like it was a big, but that's like the biggest statement she said. I didn't want to vilify processed foods. Well, if they're bad for you, why aren't you? You know,
Exactly.
like what do you mean? That's
just a very, very foolish comment. It really was very, very foolish.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's see. I know, and Lisa's saying how do they sleep at night? Oh, sorry, Peter. Yeah, I know, right? Like, or they're just. It's hard to hold back right now. I mean, I can feel a couple rants coming on pretty quick here. Just, go ahead, eat your processed food, guys. Really.
That's like say with cereals.
With cereals, exactly. Yeah, and
Mixing that, that's always said high in fiber first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And when
Let me ask you guys a question.
I love it.
How long is it now that you guys have been following this bullshit advice, but you still have gut issues? You're still walking around, you're bloated, you're constipated, your energy is not the best. You just know fully well something's not right.
Okay, Mark, I want to let you do this live. So that's where I want you to be there live. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Mark? Come on, let us have it.
Well, you saw my face at the end.
Yeah.
The minute I heard that one, that's when I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like this is absolutely crazy. So that's why I asked everybody watching. I said, okay, listen, how many of you are in this situation at the moment? You're following these high fiber diets, but you notice that something is just not right. Your mental health is not right. Even though you're eating the standard healthy diet that these people say, and you just know something's not right. You're walking around bloated. You're gassy. Your energy's crap. You just don't feel good at all. And then when I put that video up, everybody was texting me back and saying, Jesus, like that's me. I'm eating loads of plants at the moment. I'm eating a lot of fiber. I'm having my oats in the morning. I didn't realize that this was happening. People don't understand what's going on, guys.
Yeah.
They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like this was one of the biggest videos. This was one of I did this video like a couple of days ago, and the response I got out of this was just insane. Absolutely insane. And I think it's because I tagged in the TV program. I got a lot of their audience like watching the video, and they were tagging me, and they were asking me a lot of questions. But it was like, holy shit, like we are so far behind. And I could have easily had a half an hour conversation with each and every one of these people. Yeah. But it's just wasting my time, because I just said to them, like, listen, go back into the videos. I have so many videos on this, so you just need to watch it. But yeah, it's just people are just, they don't understand what's going on. People are just absolutely convinced that they're eating healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really a laughing matter. I feel you, because I mean, it's that same conversation over and over again. And then when you actually narrow it into something and you say like, okay, well, what if it's this? Well, it's not that. Okay. All right. Like we've talked about this. You've admitted that your diet's a little, it's not as healthy as you think.
And it's always so difficult, right? Oftentimes it's multifactorial, and more than one or two things play a role, and you might omit one thing and feel slightly better, but it's totally obscured by all the other small complaints that you have in your daily life. For me, it was really difficult to understand what was happening. I mean, one time you were a little bit bloated. The other time you would have something towards constipation. The other time you have skin rash. The other time you have a bit of headache.
Yeah.
Whatever, all these things. And a lot of these things can come also from, so it can be multifactorial, but it can also be that multiple of these complaints can come from the same food. So it's just one big mess. And
the biggest thing for me, the reason why I had to eat a lot of fiber and a lot of vegetables, is I had a ferocious appetite, like unbelievable appetite. So if you gave me like some carbohydrates and protein, it wouldn't be enough. I'd have to like fill my plate with vegetables because I wouldn't be able to fill myself up. I would never
Yeah.
have that satiety feeling. I was always hungry. So that's why I literally made sure that my plate was. I used to have like a plate of food, and I'd also have like a side order of like salads.
Yeah.
That's what I
But
used to have because
right after
I'd
a
eat both of
meal,
them
Mark,
together.
and Mark, right after a
Right,
meal, not even then would you feel satiated? Because I imagine that. I mean, I had that. I would be satiated after a big meal of vegetables and grains and all those things.
oh
But
yeah,
then,
yeah,
let's say 1 or 2 hours later, that effect would be gone.
oh yeah, yeah. And even though I filled myself up, if someone came out with to me like with treats or some chocolate, I'd be like,
Mm.
oh yeah, I want some of that. Even though I'm full, I'd eat it no problem. So
You
I
know,
couldn't, as I said, I could never switch off that hunger hormone ever.
it's funny because what we think about, right? Like our old ways you'd fill up on the stuff that brings nothing to the table, and then you just want more of it instead of
Yeah,
filling up on the stuff that you need. And it's protein and fat. Like, I mean, obviously a big bowl of pasta is going to fill you up, but like you say, Peter, sooner or later, that sugar is going to call, and you're going to want something else. And it's unbelievable. All my life, the same thing. You're eating bowlfuls of salad thinking it's good for you, thinking it's awesome. Like, oh yeah, this is good for me. I'm going to eat a salad before bed. And it does nothing.
Before bed.
It
but see,
does nothing.
I kind of had an idea about this. I'd say about 10 years ago because I used to eat my carbohydrates, a lot of carbohydrates. And I used to always say to myself, like, why am I always hungry? Why do I eat this meal? And an hour later, I'm thinking about food again.
Yeah.
And in my mind, Ross, I just went with, because me and you were in this industry, Tony, when we were taught back in school, fiber slows down the absorption of sugar. And I fell into that trap. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to add more fiber in here. That's going to keep me full. And I used to spend a fortune on these vegetables. But then I was really struggle. And then the next thing I was struggling to pay for was the digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes were really expensive. So it was basically adding on to, like, I was spending more money. If something wasn't working, or
Yeah.
sorry, if something was causing a problem, I'd have to go out and get a supplement to fix the problem. So
Yeah.
I was always spending money to try and find out what the problem was. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and that's what happens when we're not properly nourished.
Yeah.
And
Just looking for quick fixes all the time.
and then all of a sudden you're chasing your tail and you're thinking, and that's the trick too, Mark. That's the pre-medication loop where you think you're broken. You're eating all the stuff, you're doing everything that they tell you, but something's disconnected. So you keep searching for the right answer instead of taking care of the foundations. And now when people have started to figure out the foundations, we get ridiculed, and we're the ones that get, like, and it's unbelievable, like how these mainstream doctors and nutritionists and dietitians all fall on the same bloody sword, and they swear by it. And it's like, well, I can tell you, just with our interviews alone, look at last week with the Cumbrian carnivore.
Yeah.
Look at Bill reversed his shit. Like, try and tell him to go back to the way, that he's eating something wrong. And he's going to eat a bunch of fiber and wheat bix.
But not only that, you tell someone who's suffered with IBS for a very long time, huge, long time, and they go straight onto this way of eating, and within months, the condition is reversed.
Yeah.
And you look at the mainstream media. The mainstream media will say, like, listen, if you have this condition, you need to eat more fiber.
Yeah.
Just eat more fiber. It's insane. So how do you explain to someone who's reversed the condition, that's been dealing with an autoimmune issue for a very long time, and it just out of the blue, it just goes away?
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
Yeah, and it happens over and over and over again. And it's funny with IBS because it's just a matter of time. Anybody, you go in and the doctors, well, whatever, tell you have IBS. What caused it? Oh, it's just you. It's just your guts. You just guts. Leaky gut's not a thing. Yes, it is. It is, because we've seen it go the other way. When people, if you can break something, you can fix it. If you fix it, you can break it. So, what happened to all three of our guts? I mean, I know I had I was lactose intolerant. If I had milk, I would like and I was a kid that loved his milk. So I drank milk all my life. And by the time I was about 25, and I'm telling you, within minutes, I would have like ferocious diarrhea within minutes. And that is completely gone now. Why? What happens? I'm just magically, my genetics just started kicking in at the age of 45.
That's even with pasteurized milk, right? Or
yeah. This is
so
dairy.
that's amazing because
yeah.
I had to go one step further. I mean, but still, I mean, that shows that the carnivore diet already improves the leaky gut aspect.
Yeah. Well, no doubt, man. And it's just, I was living proof of it, and I didn't even realize that was actually for all the new carnivores out there that aren't keeping track of these resolutions, of these things that are resolving. Do it, because I didn't. And then all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, I'm not this anymore. And that was one of the things. I don't know when it happened, but now my lactose.
Yeah, not immediately, probably. I mean, that's. I also noticed it because even on raw milk, I needed some more time, and probably around the 2-year mark or so, it really improved. And now, actually, yesterday I drank over 1 liter of milk.
Yeah.
Well, kefir. Okay, so that's slightly different. It's fermented, so it's all a bit easier on the stomach.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, a liter of milk, I would have gotten problems maybe even 20 years ago if I would drink that, when I could still drink milk. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it changed for me, and I was like, holy cow, because I didn't drink milk for almost 7-8 years, like, because I just, as soon as I did, woo, and I'm talking, and it was, if I had cream in my coffee, I would get, if it was too much, there would be a line, a little bit too much, I'm going to the washroom, like now. And that's completely gone. Now I can drink, I'll drink whole milk, I can't, because in Canada it's illegal to get raw dairy. So I'll drink whole milk. It's pasteurized, but non-homogenized whole milk. And I can drink a liter and not feel anything, like no problems whatsoever.
That's funny. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, Tony or Peter, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that it's funny about the cream, that I drank a little bit of cream in my coffee. Oh, so sorry, but I drank a cup of coffee when I was at my parents', and just pure cream tastes like super sweet. And just amazes me that, because people would normally probably not taste it. They buy the cream from the supermarket, the sugared cream to put on your on a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And it's just amazingly sweet.
Yeah.
And it probably contains like 2% of lactose. That's all.
I love it. No, I was just saying, like, I always knew I had an allergy to dairy. I always knew that when I was very, very young. But the biggest one for me was eggs. Like, for years I couldn't eat eggs. Like 5 years ago, I couldn't even eat one egg, not one.
Wow.
And now I'm eating 12 a day.
But I didn't eat eggs because I couldn't stand them. I thought they were disgusting. It was weird.
Every time I ate one egg, my stomach used to have just balloon out. I was in bits after. I was like, wow. Why can't I not eat eggs? And now I'm taking advantage. Now as I said, I eat around 80 a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good food survey. Hey, Mark, how many eggs do you eat a week? Everybody's like, maybe 5, 6. Mark's like 80. I love it. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing too, is I've found, like, progressing into this way of eating as well. Like, I mean, Byron's got a bunch of stuff about of course, it produces gas, and like bacteria feed on that stuff, and they produce more off gas, right? But I find that everything's changing, and it's still like, I'm like, we're collectively like, 4 whatever plus ish years into this. It's still, things are changing. My gut's changing still. Like, everything's still, it's like, it's wild how many times I've gone like, okay, I'm at the pinnacle of healing. I don't mean health. Obviously there's always improvements there, but just of how my body's been beaten up over the last 49 years. Now things are still changing. And that's the one thing I found with what's drawing me to food now it's wild and it's completely different. And I think that's another thing that we underestimate with this fiber processed food crap is that it hijacks our natural instincts and it makes us go not instinctively and use intuition. And it kind of pushes us into this, thinking first instead of knowing mentality. And I think all that cereal and shit does that, and it hijacks our natural way of doing this. Every other animal knows what to do, They don't talk. So how is it that goat knows exactly what to eat when it's born, exactly, and how much, or keep going, And we're the only animals that are so smart that we think we know better, right?
This is interesting what Byron is saying, but I think he's referring to this aspect that if you eat protein on themselves, you don't get bloated, you don't produce any smells on the other end.
Yeah.
But when it does go wrong, it's when you eat fiber along with it, because then together with the fiber, the protein can reach your colon and then start to ferment. And that's another funny thing, actually.
Yeah.
In a discussion under a TikTok video, I don't remember exactly where, I talked with somebody about fiber fermentation, and he argued that protein fermentation is very bad. I beg to differ, because protein fermentation, no doubt, will happen to some degree also in carnivorous mammals, for example. So if their food, some of it will reach their colon, right? I mean, it will be very little, but some protein fermentation will happen, and somehow people think that it must be bad because it's not the same fermentation process as with fiber. And maybe on a mixed diet, it could be bad because it's a totally different process, perhaps, if it's combined with fiber and produces this type of smelly gases. I'm just hypothesizing. It's totally not. I didn't research this or anything, but it's just to say that all these things can be so complex, and people are simplifying it, and they see things happening on a standard diet in the context of carbs and fiber, and then conclude, oh, that's probably just the way it should be, and there's no other possibility.
Yeah.
But anyway, just try to do a smelly fart on carnivore, and that's very difficult because some carnivores pretend that you don't fart on the diet. I still fart sometimes, but they are safe farts.
Well, yeah, they are. You get to sneak one past the goalie and no one notices, right? Like that's.
I think. I think I could probably stand in the elevator and nobody would notice it. But
that's some sweet elevator music, eh? Is that Peter?
You might need a little bit of music indeed to cover it up. That's it.
Well, I would have to agree with you, man. Like, if you want revenge on some plants, that's awesome too. Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the people I've talked to that are just they see that, especially actually the vegans and vegetarians that go carnivore really notice the difference. Like, us guys, we've got all this, our whole lives being those, farting machines, but like the vegetarians and vegans really notice the difference when they go carnivore, and they're like, what? Oh my Lord, was it the broccoli the whole time? Yeah, it was. And yes, beans. Yes, it's true. They're the magical fruit or whatever.
Yeah, cauliflower for me was really bad.
Same with broccoli. Broccoli was the same with me. Oh my God. Every time I ate broccoli, oh my God. I could do the smallest, tiniest fart and it would stink the whole room. Yeah, honest to God, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You know what? Like, that's kind of funny, man, because I'm thinking about the last time, like, I just ripped one that was just like, oh God, I can't remember the last time that happened. It's quite funny. Like, it's interesting stuff. I think it was actually Sean O'Mara that said, anything that's noisy and smelly that's coming out of a human being shouldn't be. It's not right. It's not natural.
No.
I mean,
and especially if you're doing it like constantly as well.
yeah,
There's something wrong there.
and that includes snoring. That includes, like it's, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't snore or whatever. Snoring is ultimately bad, but I'll tell you what, if you're snoring to the point of, sleep apnea, that's not good. No. And I'm sure that's a lot noisier than this. Peter, you have something lined up down there. I don't know. Is that what you're eating? Is that what
Yeah. So I just quickly recorded before entering the live.
Okay.
Like 30 seconds, just showing what I've eaten
well,
today.
Because people want to know what you eat, buddy. They do. They want to know what Peter eats, and I promise you, next week I will have something lined up for an intro to you.
Oh yeah, nice.
Okay. So, do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, let's just talk through it while watching.
Okay, we're bringing a new segment, everybody. It's what Peter eats. So now he's under pressure. He's got to do it every week. We want to know because he eats some strange shit.
Yeah, I have to think about it because today I did forget it, and luckily I had a second batch of the same stuff. So this is not literally what I ate, but
you would eat
it's the same stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's not it seems.
No.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started with 2 lamb chops, raw, and some liver.
Okay.
Bit of grass-fed butter.
Oh.
Sauerkraut this time.
What? That's gonna make you fart, buddy.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Not
How
all of
dare
this,
you?
by the way. Just like 2 spoons or so.
Okay.
And 6 eggs, and I would normally eat them raw, but today I bake them. Just the yolks, because I don't like to eat the whites. They are a bit heavy on the stomach. And yeah, I noticed it again, that cooking the eggs makes them heavier, and really it's so much better on the stomach if I eat them raw. I can eat 10 of them, 15 if I want, but if it's cooked, 6 like this is actually already a bit too much.
Interesting.
And yeah, this was the main part of my meal. So I think this was 3/4 to 1 pound. So really not that much. So I've been eating very little today. And I see that my blood glucose also responds well to that. So if I eat less, it still becomes easier even on a carnivore diet because there's protein in it, and also a little bit of the fat will still require insulin.
Okay.
But it becomes, of course, much more manageable because there is still quite a degree of difference even within the carnivore spectrum. If I would eat 2 pounds of meat on a day, I would still be in range, but I get glucose spikes to, say, 120, 130 if I don't manage it well. And now today it just was smooth sailing around 100 or so.
Sweet.
And that's it. And I've been a little bit, not sick, but I was a little bit off this week. So I ate quite a bit of liver just for the vitamins. And then on a day like this, I'm also taking some extra vitamin D, still, even in summer. And for the rest of magnesium, that was it for today. Water and salt.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of the vitamin D. Like the average people say that you need to be taking in around 3,000 or 4,000 or even less, 2,000 IU a day. I take in 10,000 every single day. And I have been doing that every single day for the last 4 years. And I haven't been ill. Yeah. No word of lie, hand on my heart. No word of a lie. I haven't been sick in 4 years.
I have this app called D-Minder, and it tells you how many IUs of sun you can put it in your basically if it's just your face or if you're bathing suit exposure, and it tells you when the sun is optimal for vitamin D, how much vitamin D, and it's really quite amazing to see the difference of how much you actually absorb with a couple hours in the sunshine. It's wild. So, and I think, from everything about the research I've done with vitamin D is the upper limit is it doesn't matter. Like there's no upper limit. And I mean, when you look at, they were treating 100,000 IUs for COVID a day without any toxicity, that's the extreme. But then when you're looking at, the possibilities of what 10,000 to 20,000 IUs would be doing a day, it's a no-brainer. And I think people
Absolutely.
do on top of their vitamin D, obviously getting it in the sun is the best way to do it. Like, I mean, I tend to just, if I get out in the sun, I don't take vitamin D. But I stay out in the sun for all day.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same. Like, honestly, it's one of the most powerful things you can do.
yeah.
And it's even more powerful when you're on this lifestyle. It's unbelievable.
And
Like,
what Byron,
it's incredible.
yeah, and what Byron's saying, the RDAs are calculated as well for the calcium mobilization factor. They're not not calculated into the immune system function of vitamin D. So if you have, like the reason vitamin D is in milk isn't for your health, it's to prevent rickets. That's it. When they had a ricket problem, they put enough just to get through that. So these RDAs are all over the ridiculously wrong.
Yeah, and it's the same as with fiber, because I'm like 200 pounds, but a person of 150 pounds, male or female, that sort of things makes a big difference. I mean, maybe I can take twice as much, certainly twice as much as a small female person, and probably they have different RDAs for children and maybe different RDAs for elderly.
Yeah,
but it just shows how much of an estimate it is.
And
exactly. I was just going to say, I think this is absolutely powerful for men and their testosterone. I really do. Like, when you increase your vitamin D, you're on a high-fat diet, you're training the right way, your testosterone is going to go through the roof, whether you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, or your 80s. Trust me, it's incredible. And this is why I'm not the biggest fan of TRT, because I just believe you can do this naturally. I really do. I just think that if you have more vitamin D in your life, you're eating a high-fat diet, and you're training the right way, like strength training a few days a week, and not overtaxing yourself, not overtraining, not doing too much volume. Honestly, your testosterone will never drop. It'll actually keep on increasing.
Well, that's funny that you say that, Mark. Because I'm a big believer in that as well. I mean, when you look at the cholesterol cascade of your steroid hormones, your sex hormones. Vitamin D arguably is a steroid hormone, is a sex hormone. It's in the same category from cholesterol. So that makes perfect sense. And I think, not to mention staying out of the sun, lowering your cholesterol by all means. And then if it's not enough with the drug, what do you think that's doing to all of our sex hormone, like our sex drive? And then if you look at estrogen after testosterone, women have the same. It's a mess. So, being out in the sun, being optimizing your vitamin D status is probably a really, really good idea that is going to be obviously beneficial. So I agree with you. And I think vitamin D, if they didn't even realize it was an immune modulator up until, a few years ago, what the hell don't they know about the other stuff that it does?
Yeah.
And you know what? Out of all the supplements that I see in the shop, vitamin D is the cheapest.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
exactly. I can go into my local store and get a good vitamin D that has 120 capsules in it, and I'll only pay about 15 quid for it. Yeah, 120 capsules.
The only thing I would say, if people are starting to up their doses of vitamin D, just be mindful of the vitamin K2 factor. Like you want to make sure that you're. I mean, obviously, if we're eating butter and animal fats, it's going to be high in that. And I mean, sauerkraut is good for K2 as well. But that has a lot to play with the calcium mobilization. So if the K2 is sufficient, no problems. So
another thing to take into account is that it's better to take fat-soluble supplements. So the vitamin D, of course, is fat-soluble. And best is to take a supplement that's dissolved in MCT oil, coconut oil, or something like that, or very good quality olive oil. And there, of course, you need to be extra careful that it's really good quality. But a lot of supplements, I mean, they will work, but without the oil, it is less easily absorbed.
Exactly, because most vitamin D, I bought two when I was in Florida last year, and the two of them have the exact same ingredient in it, seed oils. The exact same. So I would, and that was one thing I didn't even look up. I only realized it when I brought it back here. But yeah, 2 of them have seed oils in it. So you
Yeah.
need to be very, very careful that the oil that's in it is a good source.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still better than nothing, of course. I think that if the alternative would be not taking it, then that little bit of seed oil probably is not going to do that much harm. But it's, better to avoid it.
Yeah. Yes, that is true. Well, boys, let's get into one more thing. Before we go, we got something to do, and it's something we do every week. And this one, we're gonna get into it again.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down.
Today on Write That Down, we're gonna challenge this. Here we go.
The carbs make you fat. Why aren't professional cyclists obese? They eat mountains of rice, pasta, oats, gels, fruit, energy bars, all carbs, and guess what? Not love handle in sight, because it's not carbs that make you fat, it's excess. Too many calories, too little movement, too many excuses. A cyclist will burn 5,000 plus calories a day and use carbs like jet fuel. You burn 800 walking to the fridge and back. Carbs aren't the enemy. Inactivity and overeating are. So stop blaming food groups for what's really a discipline problem.
I find these people...
Okay, we want a live reaction here. We want a live reaction.
There you go, guys. It's all down to discipline. That's the reason we're gaining weight.
Hey,
holy shit.
I know, Peter, you're not a professional cyclist, but what do you think about that 5,000 calorie carbohydrate?
Yeah, well, it shows that to some degree you can outrun a bad diet, I guess. But it's difficult. But yeah, if you have a professional sports career or if you're a fanatics athlete, you can outrun a bad diet in this way. You don't gain fat. You just run enough, you cycle enough. But once you stop, it's I've experienced it myself. That's maybe the first reason why I started going on this low carb journey. That was that once I stopped cycling after summer season, I would basically become type 2 diabetic. I just noticed that I had to inject way more insulin for each gram of carb. I was gaining weight and all these things. And I was fed up with it at some point and started with this low carb diet from Dr. Bernstein. Yeah. And with professional athletes, you see the same. Not all of them, of course, because who knows? For example, Lance Armstrong, he continued cycling, not as a professional career, but he continued cycling. So he stayed lean. But there are also a lot of athletes that don't stay lean and become type 2 diabetic. And I think it's quite a percentage of them as well.
But I think the most important thing is not all of us are athletes.
No, I was just going to say that, Mark. You said that before. I think you said that in the video too, right? Like,
at the end of the day, everybody has something going on there. Like they've got a busy lifestyle, they've got a busy work schedule. You know what I mean? Somebody could be sedentary, sitting at a desk all day. Somebody could be busier on a building site all day. So their energy expenditures can be completely different. So this is why everybody's not the same. So it's absolutely insane to say everybody is the same, and he's saying it's just down to discipline. It just drives me mental. It really does. But when you go past that and you say, well, listen, this has nothing to do with calories, because we've been doing this over and over and over again. Yes, it works. We've all done it. Everybody has done it. We know we can get in shape in a calorie deficit. The problem is you can't sustain it. It's never sustainable. You more than likely you put the weight back on when you drop down to low levels of body fat, because you're hungry. You're putting yourself into a massive restriction. So it's just how these people just don't get it, and are just constantly focusing on calorie deficits all the time. And we're just focusing on weight loss. This is the reason why we have such a major problem at the moment, because nobody's giving out the right information.
And you know, I just look at my personal, like my life experience when I was going through school, working in like, you know, a heavy job, physically active, 12-hour days, long. And then I went to the clinic and I was working in an office. My meals changed very, very subtly, like not a lot. I still ate once a day. I still ate till I was full and satiated. My physical body did not change. So theoretically, if that was the case and the energy output was like, oh my God, I wouldn't even say half. It was like way less than half compared to the year before. Shouldn't I be gaining weight then? If that's the calories in, calories out bullshit, well, theoretically, if that was fueling me, I should be gaining, and I did not gain a pound, and I retained all my mass, and I ate instinctively, and my meals didn't really change. So,
Can I just say as well that if someone's on a building site and they're on their feet all day and they're moving like blocks and they're walking around, their energy expenditure is going to be very, very high.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot track their energy output. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Because if it was all about energy and it was all about calories, I can guarantee you these people are probably burning around probably 10 to 15,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
Because they're moving things around and they're walking constantly for 10 hours a day. Now you talk to someone, as I said, who sits behind a desk, who's not moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their energy expenditure is literally on the floor.
Yeah.
How can you turn around and say that everybody's the same?
Yeah.
It's just very, very foolish. You look at someone like Peter. Peter does a 2-hour cycle. His energy expenditure is going to be huge. Whereas you talk to someone who goes into the gym and just lifts weights, theirs is going to be very, very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you track energy? It's impossible. You cannot tell me, okay, if I'm eating 2,000 calories, I need to burn 500 calories, which is what they say. You need to be in a deficit of 400 calories, 500 calories to drop weight. Where does that information come from?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the best you
tell
can
me-
hope for is that by trial and error and iteratively, that you would approach a certain balance and that you could say, okay, if I eat 200 calories more, then I'll start to gain a little bit. And if I am below this level, but you have to have a very constant lifestyle, constant diet with no differences in macronutrient balance, no differences in stress levels, no differences in exercise, energy expenditure, and all these things. Then, to some degree, it works. I mean, you can look around and calorie counting to some degree works. I mean, people are doing it, but they don't realize that it's just inaccurate measurement. Like it can be 20% off, but a measurement method that is 10 or 20% off in practice can still work. And that's a bit the tricky thing. And people start to believe that it's exact mathematics, which it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it works, so it must be exact mathematics. That's
like,
a bit.
We all know it works. We just know it's not sustainable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And we got a couple good comments here. Lisa, my husband is a tradesman who works outside all day. He eats once a day, steak and eggs every day. I can relate to that. He can outwork every guy out there. I can relate to that. He's in the best shape ever. That is, I've seen it over and over again. And it's funny how all these people look at me and they go, how can you just move like that? How do you just function like that? And it's like, I tell them, man, stop eating what you're eating. Simple. No, it's not that. Okay, I'm just a genetic freak. We've heard that one. And then Byron as well, man. It assumes your body's a math equation, and we're not. We're not a living adaptive system, and which is bang
exactly
on.
This, yeah.
And everything is, we're flowing with life, and some days you may need some things, other days you may need that. But once again, getting back to this fiber bullshit and tying it right back into that, telling you need this much. Well, how do you know? You don't know what we have no idea what our body requires. All I've seen from like examples like ours is when you do something that takes care of the foundations, the rest sort of fall into place, and you can adjust accordingly without any, we'll call them side effects on health. Like I can't even imagine gaining like body fat now. I wouldn't. I don't know where that limit is, and I'd be curious to see eating higher fat if I'd actually put on body fat, because I don't really think I would.
Well, I actually do. I do that once every couple of months. I do like a fat fasting day.
Yeah.
I'll take a day off of just eating protein. I'll just eat a lot of fat, and the next day,
I bet you drop weight. I bet you.
Yeah, it's like the sugar diet.
Easily. Yeah. Because what I do is this is the only time I weigh myself.
Yeah.
The only time. So the day before, when I'm eating a lot of protein and fat, I'll weigh myself. And let's say I'm 160 pounds or something, whatever. If I go the next day and just do a complete fat fast, I'm telling you now, I'm down 5 or 6 pounds. Now, someone explain to me why I'm down 5 or 6 pounds if people say that fat makes you fat.
Yeah.
It's
No.
just doesn't make any sense, guys. Doesn't make any sense.
And Byron effect, like I agree with him too. The thermic effect of food. We don't look into the amount of food, the amount of energy it takes to digest. Like we think about the brain as being an energy pig, like it's 25% of our calories. No. Well, it just takes more energy to function. So we have all these these homeostatic metabolic functions that like who knows? Peter's brain's on overtime right now. He may be taking up 30%. Mark, he's relaxing. He may be taking 20%. Like how are these numbers the same for everybody? And I think it's
Well, and add in a few factors that make it even more complicated is the fact that if you're in ketosis, you can breathe out ketones, which are pure energy, basically. When you eat too much fat and there's not enough bile to process it, it can also end up on the other end. And these mechanisms can also be partly regulated by the body. So your body can even influence the amount of energy that is retained to some degree. I mean, it's not like 20-30%, but it's another factor that plays into it.
Yes. Yeah.
And when they look at calories in, calories out, it's like, well, it's a base model for everybody to track, but it's not. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If you're actually counting calories and tracking your calories and that's doing it for you, fine, okay, sure. But I mean, just to generalize it and then base everybody else around that, it's ridiculous. And it just it just leads you down to that's the way I look at it. It's excuses. Oh, look, I've been so good. I'm down. Like, I've been keeping my calories low. And now I walk into every single store, gas station, food place, and you see the calorie value beside something, gives you an excuse to have it. It gives you, I can just have one of those and I'm fine. It's good. It's just got this many calories. I think that's why this whole thing got created, so that they give excuses to have this shit.
And then we come back to discipline again. And he talked about it in the very beginning. And I dislike the word, first of all, because it has a touch of blame to it. But it's also not in touch with nature, basically. Yeah. Do you find any animal that has discipline? I don't think so. And it's just a human construct. And discipline, I mean, even humans are undisciplined creatures in the end. I mean, we think we are disciplined, but like, I don't know, what is it? Like 80-90% of our behavior is like automatic and not under our control anyway.
Yeah, honestly, this is the one thing that really drives me crazy. Is when I hear trainers saying, like, you didn't train hard enough, you did not track your calories, you weren't disciplined enough, and then these people go away and they take on this advice. They're like, okay, it was me. I feel a little bit guilty. Next time I'll try a little bit harder. That drives me absolutely crazy. It really does. And these people are convinced that it was my fault. I failed. I just need to try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, it drives me mad.
Well, there's so many things we could get into, guys, and right now this is kind of a good little bit of a closer. Everybody gets a little bit of a rant. We all kind of feel the same way, and I mean, I'm gonna say this before we close out today. It's back to simplicity. We're the only species on the planet smart enough to make its own food and stupid enough to eat it. Yeah. Measure it however you want. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? But anyway, guys, thanks everybody for joining us today. It was a good time. I had fun, as we always do here. Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland, 7 p.m. in the Netherlands and Europe. And guys, really would love to help. Subscribe, share, comment if you can, guys. Comment into the thing to push the algorithm. Because we started the new channel, we're starting off with a little bit of a slow. It's got to build, and we're getting there. And we do appreciate all the support. But please like, subscribe, and if you can, leave a comment down in the recorded thing. It pushes us out, gets us exposed to more people. We've got some great interviews coming up. I think Lisa, thank you for that one. She's hooked us up. We've got her coming. Stories amazing. We're going to bring out Byron and Deborah. Mr. and Mrs. Funk Carnivore Beats is going to come out this week. So we do the interviews every week, live on Sundays. Peter, where do people find you?
I'm the Dutch Carnivore on most social channels.
Okay. And next week, we're going to find out more about what Peter eats.
Yeah, next week I will also tell a bit more about my cycling journey this summer. I'll be participating among all carb-loaded cyclists as a zero carb cyclist, so that's going to be exciting.
That'd be
this
amazing.
time, last time I did it, it was an 8 days journey from Italy to Netherlands, sponsor ride against for cancer treatment, so for a good cause.
Amazing.
And what did I want to say? That was totally full of rain. So basically, I was tired and I didn't record anything. But this summer I will record things, and that's going to be exciting stuff probably, because I can't wait to see how people respond when I'm eating there in the evening. I'm eating a big plate of meat, and I'll be wearing some shirts this time, clearly indicating that I'm not eating carbs and eating a lot of meat.
Attaboy.
But I'll tell more about it.
Are you friends? Are you friends with these people?
Friends with who?
With these cyclists that are going to be going with you next week. Are you friends?
Well, no, this is an organized sponsor, right? So there's like 200, 300 participants.
No, but what I'm saying is, do you know anybody outside your field that are not doing carnivore, that just does the cycling, but they're on carbohydrates?
Yeah, well, not very. Yeah, some like colleagues, that sort of things. Yeah,
because that would be a really good podcast if we could get you on and then get the other person on who eats the carbohydrates, and let's have a little debate.
Yeah, and let's have a cycling match or something like that. That's the typical thing that comes up, that they want to compare exercise performance, and that's the thing we talked about it right now. This episode, that comparing with elite athletes is just insane, because you cannot compare exercise performance. Basically, there are too many factors at play, and also you said it, Mark. Most of us aren't athletes anyway. We are just amateur athletes at best. So but what's the comparison for? I just want to show that you can have decent performance, whether it's slightly better or worse, I don't care, without carbs.
Yes.
There you go. I agree.
Well said.
Mark, where do people find you?
Same. I'm on all social media at Fitness Beyond Time 0 to 1. And if you guys want to reach out to me, you can send me an email at ennismark93@gmail.com.
Right on, my brother. And don't forget his Mark and Victoria's Carnivore Evolution podcast. It's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, I believe. They do some really good in-depth one-on-one long-form interviews. That's great. So support him on that. Please support Byron Funk Carnivore Beats on YouTube, and at Carnivore Beats on TikTok. We trying to get the meat message out there, and he's killing it, man. All those songs, we do appreciate him and his work that he does. So please help him out, subscribe, and share his stuff, because it's wild things. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me at Tony_Food for Thought on TikTok and Instagram. Of course, on Food for Thought, Question Everything, my channel on YouTube, and my website is tonystewartcoaching.com. Reach out, say hi, or if you need us, reach out to us, support us. We appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. We will see you live next Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. UK, Ireland, 7 p.m. Netherlands and Europe. I'm getting better at that. All right, guys, have a great afternoon, evening, and we'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.